my gum on the way up here, so. Okay, so a little bit of background before I start. I just took like a 3-hour nap after work today and wrote this last night. Have not practiced or even read over it, and I rolled out of bed like literally an hour ago and was like, okay, I'm not gonna overthink it, I'm just gonna show up. So it's fine, everything's fine. So I also left my actual draft at home, but I have screenshots of what I had going. So we're just gonna use them as like talking points, because you know what, we just need to be imperfect and go with it. So.
I know that's right.
Okay. All right. So there's a quote or a saying, I guess you could call it, that I've heard for a couple years now, and people share it on social media, and it's really brought me a lot of comfort and kind of peace in my life. And it's really simple. It's just when people say, if I think back to what my 8-year-old self or my childhood self would think of me today, if they looked at me, they'd be so proud, or I'd be so proud of the woman that I've become today. And I got thinking about that, and I was like, you know what, like that has really kind of calmed me down for what my expectations of life are supposed to be. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of people listen to these quotes and they're like super cheesy, and I'm like, is that really going to help us get through life? Like, let's be real about it. So I also kind of got thinking, okay, what would my 8-year-old Hannah Vanover self actually think about the life I live now? And honestly, I'm not so sure that she would be super excited about it, because my 8-year-old self wanted to be a model. Shy little Hannah wanted to be a model. I wanted to live in the top penthouse in New York City, and I wanted to have a little Yorkie named Princess with a little pink bow in her hair, and I wanted to carry around my purse, and I wanted to be like a little Elle Woods, but like instead of a lawyer, like I wanted to just be like creative, and I wanted to live my life. That was me. So that did not happen. To be real, I make less money than I've ever made in my life. I am more broke. I am more stressed than I've ever been. I am more unsure of what my life will look like tomorrow or 5 years from now. But honestly, I'm a little bit more confused than I've ever been, but at the same time, I'm kind of in the middle of my glow up. So when you think of a glow up, I always picture that shy, quiet girl that like showed up one day in like middle school, and she like faced her middle school bullies, like the 3 girls that were in like the little gang that you see in the movies, and they're picking on you. And you like have a whole makeover, and you just like approach them, and like that's your glow up. Like that's the moment, right? It's getting better than that. And so that's what I always thought had to happen. That success had to be loud and undeniable and glittering and rubbing in people's faces. Look at me now, a come-up story. I thought it had to be like in the movies. But real glow-ups are not cinematic. They're quiet, they're slow, they don't come with applause, they come with healing, with letting go and maturing, with telling people no and not needing to explain why. So I tried to narrow all of this down into one story because, I kind of realized that my whole life has been a glow up. There's a bunch of little stories I could say, but honestly, when I look back, that shy, awkward girl that was afraid of human interaction, I'm still super awkward. I'll probably never completely outgrow that, but that's why I'm here today, because this is on my bucket list of things to do before the year was over, was to speak on a stage and just get out of my comfort zone. So I have a couple friends that I've been talking to a lot recently from back home, and they didn't grow up with me in elementary school, so they didn't really get the full concept of who the old Hannah used to be. And so one of my friends had actually, I was talking to her on the phone a couple months ago, and she said, someone remembered me, and she had overheard them saying that I was the girl that had really bad nose issues and sinus problems, because I had a deviated septum and I had really bad allergies, y'all. So I would be walking behind people in the hallways at school, and my nose sounded like a lawnmower because I couldn't breathe, and so I was making weird sounds, and that's what people remembered me as. And then my boyfriend went home a couple months ago. He's in the National Guard, so he's always meeting different people. And he talked to this guy that said, oh wait, Hannah Vanover, I think I remember her from school. And he came back and told me what he said. And I was like, there's no way this guy remembered me. And we had every class together from kindergarten through 5th grade, I think. And the only thing he remembered me as was the girl that fell in gym class face first and tripped over someone's foot and hit the floor face first and gave me that deviated septum that I just talked about. And the blood everywhere, knocked my teeth out, so that was the whole thing. And that was how most of my elementary school people remembered me as. High school, I was remembered as the girl who on her very first day of freshman year was terrified and was trying to hurry up and get back to her lunch table. was wearing a brand new white t-shirt and I spilled spaghetti all down it. That was me freshman year in high school. So talk about awkward, it really doesn't get much worse than those things. But honestly, I just kind of think it's funny now that I was remembered for being kind of like unmemorable or in like the weird, awkward, cringy ways. But honestly, that's just kind of how it was. And in college, I was remembered as the superwoman, is what my friends would call me, because I did anything and everything, and I was the one that could work the internships and, had lived on my own since the day I turned 18 and could drive an hour to college and then work a night shift and then wake up at 6 in the morning and go photograph concerts till 12 a.m. and then work at 5 a.m. shift. Like, I could just do it all. And honestly, I wore my exhaustion like a badge of honor. I didn't sleep, I didn't stop, I didn't feel. I was the girl who said, I'm just not into politics, when really I just didn't want to take up space and I didn't really want to have an opinion. I tried to kind of blend in anywhere I could. But now my life doesn't look how I thought it would. But in some weird way, I'm also happier than I've ever been. Again, more unsure, but I know who I am, I know what I value, I know what my boundaries are. Past couple years, I've moved away from my hometown, kind of just started my life over, and I'm getting ready to restart it again and go back home to the place that I said you would have to knock down and drag me back to my small town in Kentucky. But I've decided that I need to go back and kind of redo some things in life. So I decided to just stop explaining myself to other people and just kind of doing life the way it feels good to me. I no longer want to be remembered for being pretty or applauded for being strong or because of the trauma I survived. My favorite compliment these days is not, you're so pretty. It's, you light up the room. I love your energy. I love your vibe, your aura. And so people don't remember me anymore for being the quiet girl. They remember me for being the one that brings the light into the room, for the truth that I speak, for standing in who I am. And if my 8-year-old self could see me now, she might be a little confused, probably very disappointed that I don't live in that penthouse for sure. But I think deep down she would be proud too. Because maybe, just maybe, this messy, uncertain, heart-open, wide life that I'm living, full of vulnerability and realness that helps others as well, is the glow-up that I never saw coming.